I call to order the meeting of the Pasadena Independent School District Board of Trustees in special session on Thursday, June 20th, 2019 in the boardroom of the Administration Building located at 1515 Cherry Brook, Pasadena, Texas at, thank you, 12:03 p.m. Board members present are Mr. Kenny Fernandez, Ms. Vicki Morgan, Ms. Nelda Sullivan, Ms. Maricel Cajano, and myself, Jack Bailey. We're told Fred's going to be, Mr. Roberts will be a little late, but he'll be here. Board members absent are Marshall Kendrick. Let the record indicate that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting is duly called, and that notice of this meeting was posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. We'll begin with the invocation led by Mr. Fernandez, and then the pledges led by Vicki Morgan.
Please stand and join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, and thank you for this opportunity to come together as a school district, as a board, and as a community. Pray that you just watch over us, let us make wise decisions, and glorify your name. Pray that you just watch over us throughout this day, this week, and the rest of this year. Pray for the teachers, the staff, the students, everybody who is enjoying the summer. Pray that they do enjoy the summer, come back ready for a new school year. Pray that you just watch over us through this time. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you'll join me in the pledge to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
We will now go into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Sections 551.074 for the purpose of considering the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer, employee, or to hear complaints or charges against a public officer or employee concerning matters related to the superintendent's recommendations to hire administrative personnel, concerning matters related to the superintendent's recommendations related to renewals, non-renewals, and termination of contracts for professional personnel, 551.071 to consult with district attorneys concerning matters on which the attorney's duties to the district under the Code of Professional Responsibility clearly conflicts with the Texas Open Meeting Act. When the district seeks the advice of its attorney about pending or contemplated litigation or settlement offer, consider legal advice regarding items specifically listed on the agenda. And then 551.072 for the purpose of discussing the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Thank you. An open session at 12:09. That's not right. What is it? 12:55. I wasn't trying to be funny.
That comes with age.
Yeah. And we'll conduct the following business. Item 4, consideration and possible approval of administrative personnel.
Mr. President, I move that we approve addenda pages, personnel addenda pages A through E. Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Morgan, second by Ms. Sullivan. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
May I introduce these, please?
Sure, please.
First is Ms. Lori Brown. Is Lori here? Hey, Lori. Lori's been named LSSP for special ed, and we congratulate you and welcome you to PISD. Do you have family with you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You're surrounded by family. Next, this individual is not here this evening, but it's Shelley Jessica DeJean Tillman, and she has been named Program Specialist for Special Ed. And so when you see Shelley, congratulate her and, tell her that we're glad that she is in this new position. Next is Stephanie Baker Saavedra, and I know she's here and has some family with her. Stephanie's been named Specialist Bilingual ESL Science, and we congratulate you in your new position. Please introduce your family.
husband Joe, and Owen, and Katie, and Christopher, my kiddos, and a few friends, Christina, and Jennifer, that came. And the bilingual ESL team and curriculum team this year.
Awesome. Congratulations. Next, we have Stephanie Maslowski, okay.
I don't believe in easy names.
I know. And Stephanie has been named Dean of Early College High School, San Jacinto College. Congratulations. You have family with you?
I have my girls, Erin and Kaylee, and then my mom, Linda Wisniewski, so.
Congratulations. And lastly, we have Derek Duckett. Derek, congratulations. Derek's been named Director of Safety. And this is a new position. We wish you well in your new position and welcome you to PISD. Do you have family with you?
I have too much family.
Yeah, that's good.
I have my wife Nicole and my sons Luke and Blake. I've got my parents Mike and Micah Duckett, my brother Kyle and his kids Blaine and Jameson, and then I've got basically the whole executive staff for Texas ISD's security and safety. Mike Betrayer, Craig Straw, and Rick Cooley back there.
Awesome, awesome. Congratulations. And that is it.
Thank you. That takes us to item 5, consideration and possible approval of application for a TEA low attendance waiver for Beverly Hills Intermediate.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion by Ms. Quijano, second by Ms. Sullivan. Any discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
This is a good time for them to sneak out if they were here for the meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're going to get going.
A while ago was it was a little better time, but now's a good time if you came for some sort of special recognition and not really interested in the rest of the budgetary process of the district. Now would be a good time to slip out. And thank you for coming.
Troy, will you get the presentation up? Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry. I just figured they'd be here a long time. Started with it. Thank you. Big celebration. For sure. Darla broke her shoulder, and I don't know why she's here. Is she here? She shouldn't be here. Darla fell off the bus a couple of days ago on vacation and broke her shoulder. She was still supposed to be on vacation.
So was Greg. They were on a church trip. I heard about that
She
last
broke her
night.
shoulder.
I heard her crushed.
Yeah, like shattered.
Wow.
All right, board members, we're going to go over some budget information. I know this is...
That takes us to item 6.
Oh, sorry. Apologize.
Go ahead, Dr.
Okay.
Powell.
As you know, board members, we have House Bill 3 now available to us, over 300 pages that we've had to sift through. I'm not going to spend a lot of time at all on this because it's in front of you. I'm sure many of you have been going through the document yourself and have noticed the highlights of it. So I'll just go through some key points just to keep us brief. Of course, it shows you in the 86th legislative session that we just wrapped up, there were over 1,000 bills tracked, but only about 131 that were passed. So there was about a 12% passing rate. And you can see some details related to those bills below. This is a huge piece of legislation, probably the largest since Robin Hood in 1993. So a lot is to be accomplished. We're still going through it, seeing what the mandates are, what the requirements are, and learning about those as they're put out. There's still a lot of information coming down the pike regarding formulas, and of course regarding opportunities for further funding, and we'll talk a little bit about that. This is just kind of a breakdown. The tax compression is a big part of it, $5.0 $6.0 billion or whatever you say, $6.5 billion for new revenues to school districts, which we're very interested in, and the total cost above current law, $11.5 billion. So again, not to read it to you, I've got some checks where some things were passed regarding the legislation, some X's where things did not pass. So we'll be.
Can I
yes.
stop you for just one
Sure.
second? Back on the overview, it said that the commissioner had been entrusted with lots of new
Powers
things that he
and
was responsible
responsibilities.
for. Yeah.
And pretty much what we've deciphered from that, we don't know what it means. If a district he doesn't think needs that much money, he can take it away, or, and Carla, correct me if I'm wrong, or if he feels a district needs additional funds, he can giveth. So he can giveth and take it away. So we're not sure.
So you stay
The
on his
details.
good terms.
Preferably in this situation, you would think, but we're not sure what all that means because,
Yeah.
again, this is slowly coming out, whether it's related to safety, whether it's related to the funding or the formulas or some of the mandates. It's slowly coming out. So it's a very broad term in the law.
Why would they do that? Why would they give
Well,
him?
And Carla, you want to come to the mic and say
I'm
anything?
sorry.
She's been just recently at TASBO, and we've met. She and I were in Austin the week before with Karen, meeting with Texas School Alliance. So do you want to say anything on that?
One of my questions yesterday or Tuesday was the governor he has the right to remove money, and we're getting a lot of money. So does that give him the right because PISD is getting so much that he can remove that money? And I was assured Tuesday that that's not why it was written. The reason it was written is in the past, when they had passed some legislation, we had some very, very tiny districts that got way too much money. And so that's what it's geared at, are these districts that may have 100 students or 500 students. Because when they look at the allotment, you can't give $40 million to a district that has 500 students. And so that is why they put that in the language. But they will not take away what they've said that we will receive.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But they could.
Okay.
He could, but they said that that's not why they put that law in the bill. It was strictly to protect the smaller districts because sometimes in the past they got way too much money. And they said that for larger districts, we will not have to worry about that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Carla. So again, going back to the presentation, there was major legislation regarding not just the financial pieces, but bonds and ballots was a piece of it. School accountability, the big one that came out of that was 3906. So we'll be going through that and finding out what that means for our students and teachers. Lots of legislation proposed, some passed, was school safety. And then anti-lobbying, you can see there that none of it was passed. So again, just to kind of recap, the $11.5 billion overall for House Bill 3 that passed. These were some of the bills that didn't pass that had different components in it. Senate Bill 500 by Nelson. Again, some of these things were related to Hurricane Harvey monies, which we need to apply for by June 29th. So there's a quick turnaround if we think that we're either not going to get the money through insurance or through FEMA. We have a quick deadline to apply for that, so we'll be working on that. There were things related to teacher retirement, fast growth districts, saw some new funding, new school allotment for new buildings or new instructional facilities, and of course school safety. We thought we were going to get $50 per student, and I think we ended up with about $9.71 per student for the area of school safety. The big one to be excited about is the basic allotment. It went up to $6,160. We talked to you prior at the May 6th meeting and even prior to that about the impact of the cost of education index and what that meant for Pasadena ISD. So again, I know what you want to know is the bottom line, but some big pieces that we've got to talk about are teacher compensation. 30% again of your student revenue gain and again, this is tricky, so I've got some charts for you that I'll give out to you in just a minute. 75% of that must be spent on those 4 groups: teachers, librarians, counselors, and nurses. And then 25% may be used for other full-time employees, and we've broken that out by that group of employees and then administration separately than that. So again, there's a possibility for a teacher incentive allotment. Don't know a whole lot about that or what the rules are. We'll be investigating that and looking into what's available. There's an opportunity for other funding related to Comp Ed, and we, of course, are looking at census blocks. When they talk about that, it's not just based on free and reduced lunch like it has been in the past. And so we're going to have to be really good about informing our parents and our community and getting people to participate in that so we can get good data and funding related to that data. Of course, special education saw an increase. There's a new weight for dyslexia that we've never had before. Career and tech education going down into the lower grades. There's some new funding related to bilingual education. And then you've probably heard a lot about pre-K, the mandates related to full-day pre-K. There's no funding for the ADA tied to the full-day pre-K, but there is in the bill some funding related to K through 3. So we're using some of those funds to propose to you to add. Currently, we have 72 full-day classrooms of pre-K, and we'd like to continue to add, maybe not at the pace where we make 100% full-day, but go in that direction. It's also based on space. Can we get quality candidates at this time of year? It's a little scary. So there's lots of things to be considered there. So again, to not read all this to you because it's in front of you, there's some indirect cost allotments. The GT education allotment was repealed. We no longer have, but of course we have to serve those students and provide funding, and we want to do that. The high school allotment has gone away. But again, I talked about new allotments, the fast growth allotment, which we don't qualify for. There's a mentor program allotment we don't know the rules about related to that, but we do want to find out because we do a lot of good mentoring in this district for new teachers and others. And then the dropout recovery school and residential placement facility allotment. And then there's also some reimbursements available with college prep, which we do test all of our students. SAT, pre-SAT, so there's some opportunities for additional funding there, so we'll be looking into that. So I could go through all of this and keep telling you these things, but what I want to tell you is that we got our first template Memorial Day weekend, and we began to work on our revenue projections. As of today, I think we're on our 4th version of that template. So they keep making changes and keep improving it, making it, of course, able to run our numbers and show us what we have. So the way that we see it now, House Bill 3 and the way it impacts Pasadena ISD is our tax rate was compressed from $1.20 to $1.09, so down 11 cents on the M&O side. That results in a loss of about $13 million. However, the state's going to make up that difference with our state revenue going from about $12.6 million loss to a gain of $45.9 million. So House Bill 3 moved from prior year taxable values to current year taxable values. You've heard a lot about that. That's pretty scary because we can only estimate it, which we've done. We've estimated our current year values by going back 5 years and getting a % of the growth. But again, that's very scary because we're estimating it. So we're estimating it at $5.5 billion, and HCAD has it at about $15.1 billion. So off just a little bit, but they've been off in the past, and we've seen a gain each year from what they've estimated, so we're pretty comfortable there. Again, talked about the pre-K and the 4-year-olds and phasing that in, so we are putting in the budget 21 additional pre-K teachers and 21 additional aides that we would use on the regular side of the house and some on the special ed side of the house. And again, see if we get those quality applicants. We may come back and ask for more. But keep in mind, it's still only funded at that half ADA. So there is some funding available to us, but just not in the ADA area for those full-day pre-Ks. So the one big thing everybody sitting out there is interested in, and I know you're interested in it as well, is that 30%. So I'm going to pass out two things to you before I even let Carla come up. This is the 30% salary requirement, depending on what raise you propose, that's required. And here is, I've drawn it out two ways, with the 4% raise with teachers getting 4, 4.5, and all other employees 3, and then the 5, 5.5, and the 4% for all other employees. So you can see we're over the required 75% and how much in both of those scenarios. And you can see what our starting teacher salary would be. If we go with the 5, 5.5, and 4, our starting teacher salary would go from where it is now to $55,740, which I've been here 28 years, and that'll probably be the first time it's above some of our neighboring districts.
Oh, that's
ever.
good. That's good.
So we still want to look at what our continued formulas are showing us, and make sure that we're correct in what our numbers are estimating, because again, these are based on estimates, but if for some reason we are getting more additional funds, depending on what salary increase you go with, we can always come back and pay a stipend if there's additional monies that we're not aware of or that we're not currently finding. But again, I wanted to show you the 30% requirement. Again, 75% of that goes to those 4 groups: teachers, nurses, librarians, and counselors. And then the 25% can be spent on the other staff. So we're well above that. We've also put in additional funding for our health benefits because, as you know, we're in a deficit year after year. So we put in $50 for each employee toward our hoping to make up that deficit. But again, we want you to know that we can go any of these directions and still be within the law. Okay. The other question you probably have is what other districts are doing. So it ranges from 2% in some districts all the way to 10% in some districts. And some of these are Chapter 41 districts, and of course we're not. Some of them as well are 42s, but that is just giving you what we have as of now and what people have shared with us. Some of these have been board approved, and some of these are proposed. But again, both meet our mandates, what we've shown you here today. Both plans eliminate the M scale, because after further review of the maintenance scale that we proposed last year with HR and finance, we decided to move back to the N scale for some flexibility and to be able to get some of those critical area needs. That M scale that had been done on last year's budget was locking everyone into the hourly rate with no room for change, which was not conducive to what we needed for future growth. But again, just wanted to run past you what we've put in so far, and that would be the proposed raises at either level. $50 contribution for the health benefits. They've increased the TRS contribution that we have to pay, so we have to increase that in our budget, which we've done. And keep in mind, we're getting weekly changes from TEA regarding all of this, so we'll adjust our budget accordingly. If you go to your budget workshop packet, and you see the one that is stapled in your packet, we started back in January talking to you about budget when everybody asked for everything in the kitchen sink and House Bill 3 hadn't been passed yet. We started with a deficit of $24 million, and we talked about the fact that that was not something we wanted to take on as a district, and that was on page 4. So came back on May 6th, and we met again, and we had worked through with the campuses, the departments, the staffing, and we got that down to right over $9 million. That's on page 10. So that's the last time you saw the budget. Since then, We, of course, worked on the information we had from the template and from House Bill 3, and we put all of that information together, as well as some of these additional things that Carla's going to talk about in just a minute, and that's on page 17. If we were to give the larger of the two raises, that is the budget as it stands. And then we gave you another handout of the budget, and that showed if we gave the 4% raise and what that would be, what this budget line would be. I know I have that here. Too many papers.
So right now, we're looking at $10,203,925.
Yes,
Okay, additional.
yes. If we go that direction, or 13 additional if we go with the other option.
Almost 14.
Almost 14, correct.
Personally, I'd like to see us go with the larger amount for our employees. They've been dedicated. We've asked them to go above and beyond, and we've been below other surrounding districts for a long time. My personal opinion is I'd like to see us go with the larger amount.
I agree.
I don't have any problems with that. I got other questions on other items.
Okay, let me let Carla come up and highlight some of the new things before, and then we'll go to questions, because we got our associate superintendents here, Carla, Bethany are here, myself, so we'll take questions. She may be able to answer some in her highlights.
So when we start, let's talk about the 30% raise, or the 30% that we're required to give. Because you'll notice that we're adding
People
revenue.
got excited, 30% raise.
So you'll notice that our revenue is really $45.9 million. And so the first thing you're going to say, well, that raise that you're seeing on your sheets, that's not 30% of that. And that's correct, because that's not how you figured to get to your 30%. So to get to the 30%, you had to take your current year ADA, divide it by the revenue that we were receiving from the state and your M&O taxes, and then you had to take your new projected amount. You had to get the difference, and then you had to come up with a new allocated amount to say, this is what our true 30% is. We put in there is around $32 million. Casey is saying that our gain is $17 million, and that's just the way that they've calculated it different. Most CFOs are going on the high side because we'd rather be higher on what we're looking at for a raise side versus the low side. Because in December, we have to submit a form to TA to say, here's what we did, here's how we met that mandate. And if we estimate that revenue too low when we're doing the raises, we could easily miss that. And so we've been encouraged to go on the higher number versus the lower number. And so that's why you see that difference in there. So it's like the revenue. When we ran our template, we're running at $45.9 million as a gain. We paid someone $1,200 to run our data just to see how close we were. They came up to a $46.5 million gain. Casey gave us yesterday, and they were 47.8. So we felt it was best to go on the conservative side and stick with the $45 million. There's still some unfunded ones that we don't know about. We do know what we're getting funded on. Things that we're not positive about would be for the how are we going to get money for the incentive pay for teachers? We haven't seen that yet. We haven't seen the CCMR yet. I'm estimating it to be about $2 million. But right now, we haven't seen how they're going to
College career military readiness.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
So we haven't seen that side yet. So that's extra money that we have not considered in any part of these budgets because we don't have those formulas, nor is it part of the template yet because TA is trying to decide how they're going to do it. Our blocks, because you're getting heavier weight on the comp ed students. And so those weights from those blocks, if you're in block 5, you get more money. And so what we did when we estimated it after running our data, we put everyone in the lower blocks because then if they come back, because TA has to create a committee, and what they're going to do, they're not just looking at the census blocks because all the CFOs, we kind of voiced our opinion that wasn't fair because you have community members that's not going to fill out that census, and you can't punish us from that side of it. So they have agreed to look at where the school is and then look at the surrounding area near the school and a radius to see what is the economically disadvantaged in there. We think that number is going to be driven from our PEMS data.
Oh, good.
And so that made me feel a little better. But to be on the safe side, we put more of a heavier weight on the lower block versus the higher block. We put very little up in that block 5 because it's weighted a lot differently. And so that's just on the revenue side and how we got to those amounts on that side. Again, we talked about the safety. The allotment went from, we originally thought $50, $9.71. That equates to $486,000. So not much from what we were thinking about, but it's more than what we had. So we've added that in there. Now, when we talk about new positions writing, one thing I want to tell everyone is, you see these big dollar amounts and you think, well, people aren't getting paid this. That's correct, because how we estimate a budget, we take the average salary of everybody in that group, and then we add 15% on top of it for benefits, because we still have to pay the benefits. And the reason we estimate salaries high when you're looking at a new position is so we cover the budget.
15%, is the benefits the same for everybody?
Well, no, it's
Then how do you do it for 15%?
well, because 15% covers what we're required to pay for our TRS, our stat men, and not the insurance, but some other pieces that we're required to pay TA. Where it's higher is if we're on a federal grant. Federal grant employees have a higher percent that we have to pay. So instead of doing 15% for a local or for a federal, we do 17% for local when we're running those averages. But you can't estimate a salary based on this is what someone might come in making, because you don't know if you're going to hire someone with 0 experience or 30 years experience. So you take that midpoint, and that's how you get it. But we have to add the benefits because we're required by law to pay those benefits. So that's why when you look at those numbers, say, well, I didn't know someone could make that much money. Well, no, because we have to add the 15% for benefits to cover our budget. Otherwise, if you don't, you could end up in a big deficit. So that's why you see a larger dollar amount on some of those numbers.
So the 15% just an estimate?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So
that's what I thought. Go ahead.
So, and if you go to page 18 and 19, that's where we started the new positions and some of our reclasses and change. And those are some of the things I'd like to go over. So again, as Dr. Powell said, we added 21 pre-K teachers and 21 aides, and that's to fill that mandate. And the only way you could get out of that mandate, you could do a waiver if you have no room for the classes. But to pass your waiver, you must have a public hearing. You must have talked to neighboring daycares to see if they could allow us to have a class at their facility. And then you have to or you lose from going from half day to full day, and we lose attendance. So in other words, if we had 3,000 pre-K students doing half day, but then it dropped only 1,500 that wanted to do full day, we would qualify for a waiver. But even to start, before the commissioner will even approve a waiver, you have to have a public hearing. You had to go through to say that we didn't have room. We've contacted outside daycare facilities to see if they had room, and then we would be required to pay for the teacher to go to their facility. And so those are the things, the only way you could even get out of a waiver if we didn't have room. But you still have to go through that process. And that does become effective for September 1. And so they really put some strong mandates on how the pre-K is going to work. And it is only funded at half-day ADA.
But we've gone out and we've already done these things.
Well, we have room. And if you have room, you have to add them.
Okay.
So now if we can't find the teacher because they're not quality, then we tried our best and we put our best effort forward, and so then we will be okay until we can get them filled. So, but the key is we've budgeted and we've asked for it based on the room that we have.
Okay.
Okay. We added an LVN at Pasadena Memorial. We added a paralegal to help with some of our open records requests because we seem to be getting a lot of them. We added a police sergeant and 3 additional officers. Y'all had already approved 3 officers, so that will be a total of 6 additional officers and 1 sergeant. You'll see a lot of reclasses for the business office, and the reason that we did these is we cut a lot of positions out to fund this. So by the time we were finished with what we moved people to, we still added to fund balance with the positions that we cut, because we cut 4 positions that we needed to redo because we need to do a reorganization in there. Under finance, you have payroll, you have purchasing, and you have...
Question.
Yes.
Since you're covering it, why did you need to do a reorganization in there?
Well, because we need some lead positions. We need someone...
Were they not being done?
Not yes and no. So let me clarify that. For like accounts payable, let's just start with accounts payable. The part on accounts payable that we're missing is we didn't have a lead that could review everything. And so the director of accounting was having to review everything. And the assistant director was having to review everything. Well, we're removing that assistant director position, so that's going away. And the director needs to be focused on the finances, on how do you close the year. You've got to prepare for audit. Is our coding right? Those are things that is their job. So we needed a lead to review those things. We're required before things that we do for audit is if a check is over $10,000, you have to have a second signature on it. And so those are things that we require, but we didn't have that person in place that could look at that other than the director. It's the same with the accountants. We have gotten so many new mandates because House Bill 3 didn't only impact the educational side and the funding side, but it's impacting what we're going to be required to do on the finance side. We've got new PIC codes coming up that we're going to have to create. We've got a new statutory minimum table that we're going to have to create. And payroll, the track side of it, and that's where we submit what employees do for TRS to get their money, has gotten so complicated. It's a full-time person that's the only thing they can touch.
So how many jobs did you cut?
4.
4. And you increased salaries and lead positions and so on and so forth to cover those. You've got $150,000 worth of raises just in your one department there.
Yes.
Some of them as high as $34,000.
Yes.
Is that director?
5 people.
Is there 5 people that's got $34,000
Yes,
raises?
Well, no, it's the total of them.
The total, so you divide it by it.
6.
6, I'm sorry.
Okay.
6.
Okay.
Where are you, Fred?
I'm on,
Page 19.
Okay.
yeah. And you're correct here. It says reclass 5 senior bookkeepers. Okay. 34,000. Okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay.
So you've got $150,000. You
Yes.
cut 4 positions,
And my cuts that I made were right at $200,000.
but they've got more work to do now.
Well, yes, but we're
Okay.
streamlining what we're doing. And that was the problem that we were having in there, is that it was not streamlined. And so we had to be more efficient and work more effectively. And that's not what we were doing in the past. So that's what we're trying to get to on that side.
Okay, wait a second. Deanne, is this your suggestion or is this her suggestion?
Well, anytime a department head or department leads brings me a plan, we go through it. And so I approved this. There were tons of pages of things that need to happen, but I do feel like that Carla's got eyes on this. Of course, her leads that she's going to be giving new responsibilities to are going to have to do the extra work and help so that director's not overloaded. We're going to be hiring that director because, our director left. So I think that it's definitely a plan that's going to help this district become able to... Go ahead.
So we're saving that director's money because
Assistant director.
We're saving it, but actually it's coming back.
No, we cut the assistant director, and we are not replacing that.
Oh, okay.
Stan Osborne was the director of accounting,
We
and
will
he
be
resigned, and we're going to
Rehired.
replace him.
Yes, sir.
So,
Okay.
So, and another thing that you have to look at, yesterday we were hit with a scam because you remember our check registers, we're required to post those online. That's a requirement from TEA. They're out there online yesterday, and this is happening quite a bit. We received an email from one of our vendors on an email that they normally send to us asking us to change their payment method to do an ACH. And I said, no, we don't do that. I mean, they're calling me saying, we got this. I said, no, we don't change that. And they said, well, would you overnight us a check? And I said, of course, we can overnight you a check. And then they said, well, we're going to need you to change the name on it to our collection agency. And I said, no. And so I had the staff to call to find out what is going on. And sure enough, it was a scam. But the people are looking at our check register. And if I don't have quality people in there paying attention to what they're doing, the district would have just been out. And this was a big check. It was like $100,000. So
You don't think we'd have caught it in the past? It would have just gone on through? Okay.
it would be tough because of the way that, but we have put so many controls and procedures in place now, there's no way it's going to get through us. But we have those things happen all the time. I can give you an example of where Harris County, the Department of Harris County, they got hit with $800,000 when a same little scam like this during the hurricane.
That's my wife.
Those things are going on all the time. They happen in our business too. I mean, not to us, but to other.
And I won't name the neighboring district, but we had a district CFO get burned really bad by transferring money overseas, and that money's not coming back to that district.
Yes,
If you're in business, you get hit with these scams. Computers are a great thing, but there's crooks.
Yes.
Electronic crooks, whatever you want to call them, but I'm going to go talk to my wife. I'll be right back.
They're real good about sending emails with my name, telling people I need this right now, get it done, or come to my office, or they'll send it out to the whole PISD staff saying, Dr. Powell wants you to click on this link.
Urgent.
And so, urgent. So we've really had to educate. We've put a little red flag at the top if it's coming from outside so that people realize it's not in-house.
Yeah.
But people, still get sometimes busy and get sucked into that, and they want to change people's routing codes for their payroll, and we've had to work on educating people so we make sure in our payroll they just absolutely won't do it. I know they've tried to change my payroll and they have not fallen for it, thank goodness.
Last month we had an email that went out for all employees, and we had over 200 employees change their direct deposit, but we caught it because we had systems in place to catch those things. And that's why it's so important to have those controls within that finance department. And plus, we've got purchasing is also part of finance. All the purchasing group, they're already on that scale. They're on the N scale, where the other ones are on the C scale. And those jobs are just as important. Payroll is paying everybody in this district. If we don't have the quality people in there, and we struggled trying to fill these positions, it was a hard field that we recently had. We're going to have all kinds of issues there. And so we're trying to protect everybody because I want to keep quality people doing what they do. And so that's why you see those increases in those reclasses for finance. And also, let's go to page 20. We've reclassed the robotics teacher to a robotics specialist on the A scale, and that's because of we're hoping for a great win in his ability, and we don't want to lose him.
And we took his days that he was already working, getting paid summer camp pay, his stipend, we lumped it all into salary.
Yes.
So we also want to keep him working with our elementary, middle, intermediate, and high school students. So we've got a plan to add some stipends for those people at lower grades to coordinate with him as well.
Good.
And we also increased our substitute pay by $10 for the certified subs instead of the $5 that we had talked about at the last meeting. And this is because when we have those positions open, we want a quality person in there. And so we have increased that pay, so you'll see that difference in there, and that's on page 20 as well. And then if you go all the way to page 22, You will notice that we added some one-time requests that were long past due and that we needed. We have vehicles for transportation, we have vehicles for technology, a new van for the warehouse, police vehicles, we have maintenance vehicles, we have buses, we have mowers, and we have instruments for fine arts. So that is a one-time increase that we added to the budget as well. So that won't be on there next year. It's a one-time deal. So one of the things that I will tell at every meeting that we have, I expect in 1920 to have a lot of budget amendments because we're going to see changes with this revenue. Right now, we have estimated the lowest amount that we know we're going to get. I do expect it to increase based on what TEA and TASBO and Moat Casey has said. And so they're recommending to everybody at every meeting we say we are monitoring it, and we will be bringing forward budget amendments as we find out more information because we know there's more coming.
Questions of Carla or any of us regarding what we've shared here today, or? And this is not to make any decisions today. This was just to give you information to take with you to look at, give me direction or things that you want me to look at or change or add, or what direction you want us to go on the raises so we can make particular recommendations next week. Yes, ma'am.
I know that summer school is vital to a number of our students. Was anything discussed about this?
Pull your microphone in front of you.
Summer school is vital to our district. Is there any additional revenue coming from the state to assist with this?
Well, there's part of the bill that if you'll add 30 days to your school year. Did you get an answer on that?
I have not received an answer, but
We've asked, does our summer school, we don't necessarily want to kill our teachers and put them in 30 full days of extra instruction, but does some of that funding help with paying and recruiting the best to teach our kids during summer? So we're waiting on an answer of what qualifies us for that funding. But yes, there is a chunk of money out there for an extended year, I guess is what you would call it.
All grade level?
It's actually not at all grade levels. The money is only tied to the lower grade levels.
5th grade and down.
5th grade and down.
And so what about our high schoolers?
That still comes out of our local budget, what we do. Some districts don't offer any summer programming. We know it's vital for our kids, not only for the high school kids and the credits, but we do lots of amazing summer activities with our GT kids and with our enrichment opportunities for our students. I know CTHS has been bustling with the younger kids in the area of CTE and STEM, and we really benefit from having them engaged and working to keep up, whether it's their literacy skills or just their interaction with our teachers and instructors. So that comes out of our local budget. But we're going to find out from our experts and TEA who are coming up with all the rules, whether we can tap into some of that funding.
And, you know, the program is so vital, but there's so many additional factors like transportation that factors into that. So I'm really interested in that.
We will get an answer.
And TA has a website where it's a link that says House Bill 3 questions, and they're getting flooded so much they can't answer them fast enough for us, because I posted a question last week and it's still not out there. So they're just getting flooded with all of our questions because we're asking a lot of questions. You know, let's talk about that transportation allotment. You know, you see that it says it went to $1 per mile. We were at $1.11. We lost $500,000 on that one.
Wow.
So you know, everyone thought, oh yeah, great, this is wonderful, we're going to get more money, but that's not necessarily true, because we lost $500,000 based on it going to miles. No.
But you can tell in some districts where they travel quite far to pick kids up, they benefited perhaps from that.
Are we still at,
Per mile.
what's the distance now for bus pickup, 2 miles?
Currently, we're at 1 mile or 2, Kevin? 2.
What's the capacity on most of the buses? It's actually gone up, hasn't it?
I mean, if you ask certain campuses where they have heavy apartments, you're going to find 3 to a seat, unfortunately, but buses are usually 72.
I noticed that we've got 6 officers, 3 and 3. And I guess my question is it a question of salary? Is it a question of job load? What's the deal?
I don't understand your question. You asked
In other
more,
words,
I'm asking more.
you had 3. Well, in other words, why can't we find those guys? Is it because we're not competitive? Is it because we ask too much out of our people? Is it, are we asking officers to be, for
Well,
lack
in
of
the
terms?
last 4 budgets, we have
Right.
given to the police department probably more than some of our other departments.
Right.
Trey Morris, one of the sergeants, has brought a increase for starting officers forward. Stuart and I haven't had that conversation in detail because it hasn't been brought to me. It was brought to Carla this year. As far as police departments with school districts go, we're in the 95th percentile, so we're one of the top paid school district. But when you compare to Pasadena Police Department or city to police departments, you've got to look at our guys work 240 days.
Right.
You call around and ask them what they're working. If you call the precincts, they told us that if their guys work overtime, they have to take time off. Our guys work overtime, or gals work overtime, they get paid overtime rate for that. We have take-home cars, and we pay for weapons. Am I correct, Captain? Pay for weapons. Certain departments don't do that. So, Stuart has not brought me personally a proposal, for that. Trey Morris brought one to Carla this year, and we've looked at it. As far as school district departments, we're paid well. I asked Tony Lopez to get involved with recruitment. I was up at SFA this last week talking to their police organization about because they're paid lower than how do they recruit different area of the state? Just curious.
You mean the officers at Steve F. Austin?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
I was just there.
Yeah.
Just had lots of time
Looking
on
for
my
a dorm
hand.
room.
I had a dorm room. I had a schedule, and I had nothing else to do.
Okay.
So again, it's something that we definitely are looking at and researching, and we'll look at any proposals that's brought to me.
Just a thought, because there always seems to be, we're always in the rears on the who we're trying to hire.
We were on the phone with Humble today because we've always been at or above what they pay their officers, and they're talking about a pay raise, so we wanted to make sure we knew what that was. Their CFO was getting that information to you, and I think you got it to me right before this meeting started.
Yes, ma'am.
What was it?
Let me look.
Is it a secret?
No. What was the raise? Do you know? Could you tell?
I couldn't tell. She just said they gave everybody a 4%, and then they adjusted their scale. But their scale was low, but it's still way, way below ours, even
They
with
work
the 4%.
261 days. Our officers work 240. Okay, so hourly, they make $16.23 at a PS2. But what would that be, Captain? A jailer or something? I mean, a PS2, then they have a PS3 that makes $21.87. It doesn't describe who these PS levels are. All of this is for school district. Humble.
Jailer for
No, they wouldn't have a jailer, but a dispatcher. A dispatcher. I'm married to a city officer, okay? A PS3 would maybe be an officer. So $47,450. What is our starting salary?
Our starting salary, I got it in hour or daily rate, not by the.
While she's looking at that, one of the things about Pasadena versus our neighbor to the east is we pay more at the end, but they had a tendency to pay more in the middle from years ago. Now, I don't know what's happened over the years, but that used to be the...
Which way's east? Who's our
Which way?
neighbor?
That's Deer Park's
okay,
east
thank
there, Coach. But we used to be lower in the middle.
Are you talking about teachers?
Yeah, teachers are overall employees, I thought. But I don't know.
We were lower starting, too. This will be the first time, if you go with the higher raise, that we'll ever beat their starting salary.
That makes me
In
feel
28
Well, they still got a meeting.
That's true.
I
And
have.
we do, too.
There's already approved?
So for our current year, and this does not include the 4% increase or the 3%, whichever one y'all tell us to go with, their starting salary with 0 years of experience is $49,329.
Ours is?
That's for the lowest one, the PO3.
So that's someone that has just completed getting a law enforcement certificate without any experience.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, my hope, I know that these junior colleges offer the police training and certification, but you know, being a school police officer is a lot different from being a city police officer. And I wish that there were special classes offered in dealing with children and issues that are school issues that are not the crime issues and the traffic issues that our city police officers
I mean, and honestly, I think our officers are trained very well. They go and seek the kind of training that they need, not just on the criminal side of it, but the threat assessment. I mean, I can't name all the things that I've seen come across my desk and I've signed off on, but lots of mental health, other areas where it's helpful in working in the school environment. I think they definitely have a certain temperament, and our guys and gals are excellent at having that temperament, whether they're working with a difficult student or a difficult adult, and I think you've seen that. So they definitely have good training. I don't think any of our officers would complain about their training, their equipment. You know, you ask a city officer and they're going to tell you, and it's convenient to be married to one, our officers are probably better equipped than any city around here. It's the pay. And so maybe we need to look at additional days or, you know, things like that, whether it's the other things that we provide, and get more on comparison. So I'll take that into consideration most definitely.
Well, my note here says PISD and then other agencies. You know, our competition is not humble. Well, you've got to identify who your competition is, who you're losing people to, where people are going that you're recruiting. And once you identify those folks, that's the people you're going to have to compete against.
And that's true for our teachers as well. I mean, y'all know we train our teachers, we keep them 3 to 5 years, and we lose them.
Yep.
So that's true for a lot of our teacher groups.
Any class of employee.
You know, I will take any suggestion. The conversation I have with the chief is when they're at 95 to 100 percentile and other members of my staff are nowhere near that, it's very difficult not to spread the love when you're superintendent of schools. It's very difficult to not do that because every person in this organization is important to me.
Absolutely.
Everyone.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
But then again, we always see them come back.
A lot of our folks come back. You're right.
I have one question. Under the budget requests, there's a couple of line items such as copiers, let's see,
Copier?
transportation, building and grounds that were over their budget on the requested amount for 2019-20. Was their amount increased so that we wouldn't have that same instance for
Tell me which page you're looking at.
23-24? So was their amount requested for the 2019-20 year?
And if it's red, it means they went down. Because we
Right.
did zero-based budgeting, so they decided they didn't need as much as they previously had. If it's in the black, they said they needed more, and they had to justify that because we did the zero-based budgeting. So insurance, you can see there, like $321,000. We talked about adding the active shooter insurance, things of that nature. So there's different reasons why these went up in the black, and there's, of course, reasons why they went down. Some of these in C&I, she moved monies around. Karen moved monies around. We shorted maintenance, operations, and other areas, and, you know, they're sitting back there, so they know to the tune of $500,000, I think we needed to close out the year this year. And we've had some other things come into play. We had a tornado. I mean, we've had some things come into play. Some things go out on us that you can't plan for a chiller to go out or something like that. But they are needing those additional dollars.
So like the copy machine, Derek did a great job getting a new contract for us, and so we're actually saving right at $200,000.
Okay, great.
Good job.
How much?
Derek.
200,000, close to, it was 193. So he did a great job getting a new contract in there for us.
Okay, awesome.
I
Thank
have
you.
one more question. and then I'm through.
Yes, ma'am.
Somewhere in here, we're creating a new position of assistant tax collector.
Yes.
It's not a new position. The young lady is there. She is already the assistant tax collector. She just finished her degree. So we're moving her from the C scale up to where she should be because she has completed her degree.
Thank you.
Reclass.
Thank you.
But, you know, something just popped in my head when a word came through there. Every year we give some sort of raise, some better, some not so better. And if we give the 4%, which I hope we do, I hope we work real hard on our insurance, that 4% just doesn't go to the insurance companies, and I hate to say that, but
Well, and we put the $50 in there on our side of it, not the employee side of it, to try to prevent that. So all their raise is their raise for those that take our insurance. So that $50 would give us the $5 million, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Which is kind of the tune to what we've been running as a deficit. We did do some changes last year to our insurance. You saw in the area of copays, and you saw in the area of certain things like emergency room copays, and you saw other items. The $500, was it $500? FSA that we no longer were able to provide. So we're fighting tooth and nail to stay on self-funded insurance because we know it's better for our employee. We know they get a better product and less pay. I mean, I've got some folks out there whose spouses work at neighboring districts that are on the other plan, and they beg us to stay on what we're on, but if we get sucked over, it's not from not trying. If we get sucked over to TRS Active Care, it's because it just couldn't work anymore.
get you a good committee together.
I think we have an excellent committee. They're very able to see both sides of it, not just their side. They're able to see the big picture. I feel like they are.
So nobody else, until somebody else asks, this increase in district contribution to health insurance, is that now going to be $10 million? Because we were already contributing $5 million.
No, it's going to be just the flat 5. No.
And where do you think we're going to finish this year?
I'm estimating it'll be right at 3 to 4 in the hole.
Good for us.
Yes, so it's,
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, we're monitoring it each time, and we will bring a budget amendment forward for that side of it, but when I'm
We
running.
celebrate rebates,
Yes.
we celebrate gap insurance,
So,
we celebrate.
But
Well, is this $5 million? Is it, so this is the $50 per person?
Included?
yes, that's the $50 per person.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
It's in the budget.
sweet.
It's in the budget now.
That's awesome.
Well, I think when we talk about salaries, we really need to tag and sell and present to our folks what we're doing as far as their insurance is concerned. And, people don't think about that until you go somewhere else and you see you get less, you pay more for less. And I think we need to identify that so we all know about it.
I've
And
said
our
that for a
employees
long
know it
time.
and drive it home. And here's what our starting salary is, and here's what we think this insurance is worth to folks that come to work here or folks who are considering leaving here. And I think if we don't do that, and I know it's going to be a lot of work, it's going to take some estimation, we want to be realistic about it, but I think we need to have that when we're recruiting people or trying to retain people or just letting folks know what the district is trying to do for them insurance-wise. And make it hard, factual information that you can bank on when somebody tries you out on it.
I agree with that.
Because you will be tried out. But I just think that we're missing the boat there if we don't do that.
I've said that for a long time. I think that that is a selling point, and I think we need to stress that.
And that doesn't matter if it's the police, if we're comparing ourselves to Harris County or City of Houston or City of Pasadena, then somebody can ask that question if they're considering leaving. Hey, if they really want to compare apples to apples, we've provided that information to them.
But don't just stop at employees. We got to do that for our children as well, for our students, because we're losing them to charter schools. Continue on with that too.
We are going to continue. We've got movie theaters running our advertisements, so if they're going to the movies, they're hearing about us. We've got weekly ways of reaching out about open enrollment. So we understand we're in a competitive world for our students. It's no longer you go to your neighborhood school and if you're happy, and if you're not, you're not. We get that. And I think we have definitely seen our principals take on that marketing and promotion of their campuses, and some of them are just blowing it out of the water, how they do that. We talk about it in our meetings as well. So absolutely. And we've talked, Tony and I, about when we recruit, talking about those benefits. It's sometimes hard to get a 21-year-old to wrap their head around health insurance, and benefits related to that. But trying to millennialize it so where they understand of what a benefit that is to them. And Tony's done a great job, taking graduates. I think you've seen some of her videos, the A&M video where she takes graduates of that college and puts them out there in front of those recent college grads or soon-to-be college grads. So we're definitely going to market any avenue that we have, whether it's the personalized learning, which is really attractive to some of those young teachers coming out of school, or whether it's benefits or salary. We'll be making sure we toot our horn.
Or it's to the folks that we have mentored and brought along for 5 or 6 years that are considering leaving. Those are the folks that you feel the impact immediately. A lot of those first-year folks, they're not going to be here that 5 or, I shouldn't say a lot, I don't know what I'm talking about, but they have the possibility of not being here at 5 or 6 years and making a real impact. And so, anyway, I won't say anything else about that.
So many positives. We offer staff development that other districts don't even think about.
It's second to none, absolutely.
And so many other factors that are included into that. We're a large district, so when employees come here to work, there's a chance of advancement with a large district much faster than there is with a small district.
Yeah, and
so there's all kinds of advantages that we've taken for granted sometimes.
Just culture and climate. I mean, as a leader, you have to want your employees to want to work for you and want to come every day. I used to tell my teachers, if your car doesn't want to come here, we've got a problem. If you don't get excited about coming to work, and not every day is going to be roses and sunshine in this line of work, but we have people that come from all over. You were saying, oh goodness, she has to drive that far. We have people that come from a long ways away because they believe in what they're doing, they believe in the leadership that they're under, and they believe in the fact that they're able to be part of this PISD mission. Any other questions or comments? We're going to bring back some true recommendations on Tuesday. This was just kind of an overview and get some marching orders, and then go forward and bring you some things that we could take action on. We won't bring you the final budget until we get a little more direction from TEA and more certain about the template that they're providing, and finalize that in a timely manner. But there's certain things like raises that we want to get finalized before July, because we know July 5th is the last day for teachers, whether in our district or other districts, somewhere around there is their last day to make decisions about where they're going to be next year. And staff members will be interested, regardless of what role they play in this district, what their salary is going to be. Any questions?
I appreciate the information.
Me too. I appreciate all the work that's been going on in a pretty fluid climate or environment, and awesome work. Everybody else out there is doing their job too, but Carla? and whoever else is involved in this. Thanks a lot.
Yes.
It's been a team effort.
Yeah.
Staffing, lots of work in the ASCD office on staffing and with the principals. We were meeting with intermediate principals today, telling them some good news and telling them some things we wanted to streamline that they didn't maybe think was good news, but they'll grow to love for sure. All right, I think that's all that we have for now, but again, Tuesday we'll be right back here with some recommendations.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Morgan, second by Ms. Sullivan. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.